All right, we'll go back on the record. Case People versus Brandon Martin, RAF 1506112. Mr. Martin, present for counsel. People is present. All members of the Freedom Alternative. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Just a few questions for you. I know it's difficult for you to be here today, so we're all sorry for your loss. You said that you were out of state when you learned about your father's passing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was it, if I heard correctly, you were in North Carolina?
Yes, sir.
Did you immediately come back to California?
I had my airline booked before we received the official news.
And you received a call from, was it someone in your family?
My sister.
Sister? Okay. And I know that you and your dad were very, very close.
Very.
Did you ever receive a note or a card from Michael Anderson?
Not directly, but I did receive an envelope with my name on it that I was told was from Michael Anderson.
Who did you get that envelope from?
I believe I received it while I was staying at my sister's house. And it was, I don't recall who handed it to me.
Somebody in your family?
Someone in my family, yes.
And what was in the envelope?
I was told it was a letter from Brandon Martin's mother, Melody Martin.
Did you have a chance to look at it yourself?
No, sir.
I'm sorry?
No, sir.
Oh, you did not?
No.
Did you not want to look at it?
I was given a summary of what was inside that and chose not to read it right away. And when I returned home to North Carolina, I placed it in a drawer to read in a future date when I felt ready. And it's been lost since.
Okay. So you took it back home with you?
Yes.
And it was from Melody Martin?
I cannot confirm that, but I have been told.
Was there any writing on the envelope that you had?
Just my name.
Did you learn that other individuals in your family were given similar envelopes?
I was told my brother, I was told my brother and sister each received one as well.
Are you also a plaintiff in a lawsuit against the County of Riverside and ADT Security?
I'm sorry?
Are you a plaintiff in a lawsuit against the County of Riverside and ADT for facts and circumstances surrounding this case?
Yes.
And that lawsuit you're involved in, your brother and sister are also plaintiffs in that lawsuit?
Yes.
And fair to say that you are seeking monetary damages as a result?
We're not sure what we're seeking.
You're seeking money from the county?
Not aware of that at this point.
You don't know?
I've had one meeting with an attorney. Because of all of this, we have no idea what to do.
Yeah. What are you seeking from the lawsuit?
Me personally?
Yes.
Closure, justice.
Thank you. Nothing further. Excuse. You're excused. Thank you.
Thank you. People call Robin Lancaster.
I do. Robin Lancaster, ROBIN LANCASTER.
Ms. Lancaster, if you can continue to use that microphone, please. You can adjust it if you like. The base moves, the top moves, but you need to speak directly into it.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Next rule is when the lawyers ask questions, we need a verbal or audible answer from you.
Yes.
You just nod your head up and down, shake your head side to side, say uh-huh. Court reporter can't record that, so she needs to hear you speak.
Yes, sir.
And then the last rule is please wait until the lawyers are done asking their question before you respond. Talk at the same time, and the court reporter can't record that either. So please wait until they're done before you answer, all right?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Beecher.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Lancaster, do you know a person by the name of Ricky Anderson?
Yes, I do.
And who is Ricky to you?
He's my son's father.
Were you married?
My son Michael's father.
Were you married to Ricky?
Yes.
How did you meet Ricky?
We were both from Missouri. I was 15. The first day I met him, it was on his birthday, June 5th, 1976. He came over to our home and fixed our refrigerator. And I know it was that day because he said it was his birthday. So I remember that.
So you met him in Missouri.
We were from Missouri, yes.
When did you make the trek out here to California?
In 1979.
So just a few years after you met him?
We married in 1978 in Missouri and moved out here in around June of 1979.
Okay. So would that make you, were you 18 when you married him?
I was 17 and a half.
Oh, okay. So you were young?
I was young, yes.
Okay. So you two get married young, move out to California in 79, I believe. 79 or 78?
79.
79. And you had some children together.
Yeah, in 1983 we had a son, Michael Anderson.
Okay. Did you have any other children together?
Not he and I, not together.
I understand. So you, how long were you married to Ricky?
I believe 8 years.
When
But I knew him since I was 15, so I'd known him longer than that.
Okay. And so you, if I'm doing my math correctly, was it around 84 or 85 that you two divorced?
1985, yes.
85. From 1985 to September of 2015, what was your relationship like with Ricky?
We had a very close relationship. We consciously co-parented our child in a positive way. We were kind to each other in regards to raising our child together.
So you and Ricky have a child in common, Michael, and so you'd have to see each other quite a bit, I'm sure.
Yes, we did.
Okay. And even though you were divorced, how was your relationship, though?
We had a very good relationship. He would sometimes join us on holidays. We actually traveled together with when Michael graduated from basic training, and when he was halfway through this basic training, so we traveled together to Georgia.
Tell us about Ricky. What type of person was he?
he was a very kind, generous, giving person. He seemed to make friends with everyone that he knew. He was just very kind.
How was he with regard to with Michael?
He was a very good father.
Raising Michael?
Yes, very good father. He took Michael under his wing at probably about 4 or 5 years old and taught him the air conditioning trade. And, you know, he did that all the way through growing up. And that Michael now owns an air conditioning company, and he learned everything he knows from watching his father.
So that's what Ricky did? He was in air conditioning?
Yes, he did.
When, what about grandkids? Did Ricky have any grandkids?
Yes, we have several grandkids together.
Did you ever watch how he interacted with his grandkids?
He loved his grandchildren so much. He loved them very much.
To show you what's been marked as People's 269. You see this photo?
Yeah, yes,
Who's in that photo?
that's Rick. I can't see very well, but I believe that was Landon, and that was at Rick's home. He loved his grandchildren so much.
This photo was taken at Rick's home?
Yes, in his backyard.
And you said that's Landon.
It looks like Landon in the picture.
Okay.
It's hard to tell right now.
And who's Landon to Ricky?
Landon was Rick's second grandchild. When Rick was alive, it was only grandsons. We now have a granddaughter that he never got to meet.
Showing you People's 267. See this photo?
Yes.
And what are we looking at here in this photo?
A birthday party in Rick's backyard.
You know who's in the photos there? In the photo there?
That's Rick, and Rick is holding the piñata. By the screen door, the girl holding the little boy, that's Rick's youngest daughter, Brooke. These are our grandchildren in the picture.
And were you at this party?
I don't recall I don't remember, because we were at a lot of parties with our grandchildren.
Would it be usual for you to be at a party like this?
Yes.
So that's the type of relationship you had with Rick, even after the divorce?
Yes, absolutely.
Showing you 272. Who do you see in this photograph?
That is Rick. That was Michael's best friend, John Acosta's wedding. We were all invited, and we all sat at the same table.
That's Rick with his smile, just kind of waving to the camera.
Yeah, very happy there.
When was that taken approximately?
Maybe 2 or 3 years before he died.
Showing you 270. Is that Rick again?
Yes, that is. There's another birthday party.
I'm not going to ask you whose little hand.
I can't tell whose hand that is. One of our grandsons. He had one of those little smash cakes that Rick was he loved his grandchildren immensely.
If I zoom in, you can kind of see the cake frosting on the child's hand.
Yes, it's in Rick's backyard again.
And is this a typical type of interaction that Rick would have with his grandkids?
Yes.
Showing you People's 271. Like more of another photograph with Rick in glasses.
Yes, that's Rick.
And do you know where that is?
I was told, I believe that was in Lake Alamo, Rick's favorite place. It's in Arizona, and part of his ashes are spread there.
Okay. You've told us the impact that Rick had on your life. Tell us the impact that his death has had on you.
He was a very big part of my life, and I think in order to explain how he was a big part of my life, I would like to go back a little bit before I met him so that you could understand.
Okay.
And if that's okay.
Sure. So you want to go back to explain
that, so you know that what an important part he was when he came into my life.
So when you were 15?
I was in foster care. In 1971, my parents abandoned all 8 of us children, and so we were all separated and grew up in foster care. So there was, quite a bit of abuse in the foster care system in Missouri at that time. And then I was put into another foster home, which was, it was a good home. And that's where I met Rick for the first time. And it was probably the first hug I ever had. And I couldn't even tell you how many years. It's like I felt love. And he really kind of helped build a foundation for me to live my life that I didn't have before that. He was kind and generous.
And now that Rick has been taken from you, how has that impacted you since 2015 to now?
He was my friend. When I say this, I mean I've remarried, and I've been remarried for 35 years, and I love my husband, and I mean no disrespect to my husband whatsoever, and he knows this, but I have to say that Rick is the best thing that ever happened to me, because, as I said, he brought this foundation to me that this young 15-year-old girl from Missouri, I didn't have a family. I would have aged out of the foster care system at 18. I had no parents to turn to. He helped me find my voice. It's been very, very hard. I miss him every day. I miss his voice. I miss talking to him. I was close with his family.
You said that you were close to his family, and that included his siblings. Is that correct?
Yes. At first, when I met his family, there were 16 siblings, and they were all very close. And then there were some fractures in their relationship. But so there's several family members that I'm still close to. I went to high school with his younger siblings. We rode the school bus together. I was in class with Brandon's mother.
Melody.
Yes, Melody. We were in health class together. And I know that because I still have one of the letters that I had written to Rick when I was young. And that reminded me of that. I was in class with some of his other, Rick's other siblings. So for me, they were like family. I was close to Rick's mother. We used to play cards, and they gave me a sense of family.
Since you were close to Melody, I imagine that you knew her husband. Is that right?
Pardon?
Since you were close to Melody, I imagine you're familiar with her husband, Michael.
Oh, yes, yes, Michael Martin, yes.
Showing you People's 266. See this photograph?
I do. It's Michael Martin to the left and Rick Anderson to the right.
So we have Rick and Michael.
Yes.
And were they close?
Very close. I remember the first time that we met Michael Martin.
Tell us about that.
I believe I was 18 because I was still in high school. I finished high school after we moved out here. And Melody was dating Michael Martin at the time. He was in a play at the Mission Inn at Riverside. He had a part in, I believe it was Man of La Mancha. And it was like a dinner play. And that was the first time that we met Michael, and it was an amazing experience, and it was an instant connection with Rick and Michael. And
I'm going to show you People's 265. See that photograph?
yes, I do.
What is that?
Looks like they're on some type of roller coaster, and that depicts their friendship. They were very close.
So imagine that you were very close with Michael Martin as well.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit, now I'm going to switch from Rick for a moment and talk a little bit more about Michael. Will you tell us the impact that Michael had on your life while he was alive?
Michael was always positive. When I was speaking to my younger daughters through my second marriage, they have very positive memories of him, and they remembered him as a jolly person that always took the time to sit down and talk to you. And I have no negative memories of him at all. It was always positive.
And while Michael's kids were growing up, my understanding is Melody worked outside of the home, but Michael pretty much stayed home. Is that correct?
I believe that he delivered newspapers. He did that for many years.
Okay. Was it your understanding that Michael was his role, if you will, kind of a reversal, is he was like kind of the home husband?
I believe that's the way it was. Melody was the more of the breadwinner of the family, and Michael kind of took care of the children. That's the way I believed it to be.
And now that Michael is no longer with us, how has that impacted you?
It's really hard to see such a gracious man. To see any of them go in the manner that they did, it's really difficult.
In September of 2015, it came to be known to all of us that Michael's medical condition was kind of deteriorating. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Would you still Were you still in contact with him up until September of 2015?
I hadn't seen him in a while, but my son Michael kept saying, Mom, he said, you don't want to wait too long. He said, I'm telling you that Michael Martin is very ill. And he said, just don't wait till it's too late.
So I want to go to September 15th, 2015.
Yes.
Do you recall that day?
Yes, I do.
And did you, in fact, see Michael that day?
I did.
And what was his, was that the last time you saw him?
That was the last time I saw him.
Where did you see him?
Michael and I drove out to Melody and Michael's home. Michael was going out because he said that Melody had called him. They were having difficulty with Brandon. And Michael called me, and I said, can I come out too? Because I want to see Michael.
Okay. You said Michael called you. Was it?
My son, Michael, called me, and I said, I want to see Michael Martin.
Okay. And did you, in fact, go to the Winthrop address?
Yes, I did.
And now, specifically, when you saw Michael Martin, where did you see him?
He was sitting in the brown chair in the, there's the kitchen, and it's just to the left of the kitchen if you're looking through the front door.
All right. At some point, so you were there because there was some sort of issue with Brandon, is that correct?
I was more of just a ride along because I wanted to see Michael Martin.
I understand.
Yeah.
So you had heard that there was something going on with Brandon and the family was getting involved.
Yes, that's correct.
And because you knew that your son, Michael Anderson, was going to go see Michael Martin at the residence as well as Brandon and kind of deal with that, you asked if you could tag along, if you will, so you could actually see Michael Martin.
Correct.
All right. And so you went to the residence and you saw Michael, is that correct?
Correct.
At some point, did you leave the residence with somebody?
I left the residence with Melody to go get pizza.
Okay. And how far away was that?
I'm guessing maybe 10 minutes. It's an estimate.
So I'm assuming you don't know what happened while you were gone. You just kind of got filled in when you came back?
No, before that, I just sat in the house and spoke with Michael Martin the whole time. Melody Martin and my son Michael Anderson were outside the entire time. I just spent the whole time with Michael Martin, just catching up.
Right. And I'm sorry, I probably wasn't clear. When you left with Melody,
yes.
My understanding is the police came by the residence.
They weren't there when we left.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I was getting at. So you left, and then you came back. Were some police still there?
As Melody was driving back, she saw a police car, and to the best of my knowledge, she said, "Oh, there's a police car here." And then all of a sudden, my son Michael came up to her driver's side of the car and asked her to pull over and just to wait for a few minutes. So Melody and I sat in the car and waited.
Okay. So the police were there when you came back?
Correct.
Okay. And was Brandon still there when you came back?
No, he was not.
And if I ask you, what was Melody's demeanor when you guys came back? Do you understand that question?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
There were a few things that she spoke about on the way that kind of troubled me, but I don't know if that's what you want to talk about. But
okay, I'm talking about when you came back.
Yeah, we just kind of sat in the car, and Michael came to the window, and she rolled down the window, and Michael Anderson said that Brandon had been taken in on a 5150. and she was very angry
Okay. And did she say why she was angry about that?
because it would ruin his chances of getting a baseball career.
Did she tell you what the whole purpose of getting the family together with regard to Brandon was?
Yes.
What was that?
She said that Sean, Brandon's brother, I believe younger brother, was upset that Brandon had Melody in a chokehold and had scissors to her neck, and it was not the first time. And he wanted to beat him up. Melody then told me, she told Brandon, don't do it by yourself. I think you should get several people. Because she wanted to teach Brandon a lesson. It's like, let's not just do this with one person. Let's get a bunch of people together and put a stop to this.
This intervention, if you will, I'll just use that term, was basically, from what I'm getting from you, was a collection of people close to Brandon to more or less beat Brandon up to kind of knock some sense into him?
That's the way I understood it, the way that she said it.
Okay. And as far as you know, this was something that Melody was trying to orchestrate. Is that correct?
Yeah, I didn't know that there was anybody outside. So apparently that must have been what was going on.
Is that what she relayed to you?
When we talked about the fact that the 5150 had been called, and she said, I just wanted him to be beaten up. I believe she said like 10, I cannot remember. She wanted a lot of people to really get together and to put a stop to this, because it wasn't, Brandon had also assaulted his father.
I understand that you received a phone call or a voicemail from Melody.
I did.
What date was that on, if you recall?
It was the 17th, and it was, I believe, 12:02 p.m., and her voice was a little shaky. She said Brandon was being released from the hospital, and she needed some help trying to find a drug rehab place for Brandon to go to. And she wanted to know if I could help with that. I have the saved voicemail.
Going back to Ricky and Michael, I imagine you being close to both of them, and also to the Anderson family and the Martin family. Are you still in contact with them?
I'm not in contact with the Martin family. I didn't know that side of the family as well, but I'm very close to some of the Anderson family. Howard, who he was in the same grade I was in, we speak often, and when we finish our call, we tell each other, I love you, and it's you know, I tell this to them, and I always want them to know, it's like, you guys are like family to me. I've known you for so long. You know me. We've known each other longer than just a long time, and I really love you as a family. The Andersons are, I consider them family. You know, I don't speak to all of them because, you know, that.
Right.
But the ones that I am very close to, we make sure that we don't forget to say I love you, and some of them, they call me their sister, and it means a lot to me, because it was, you know, this 15-year-old girl that needed a family. So it runs very deep within me.
And have you seen how these murders affected them?
The family?
Yes.
It's been very, very difficult for them. They know what Brandon did is wrong, and they feel so torn with they love their sister, and not all of them, but some of them, I feel like they sit on the fence, and it's like they don't know which way to turn. You know, they love Michael Anderson, my son. They know what Brandon did was very wrong, but they love their sister, and it's like they're torn. And but I think it's like you have to, it's what's right and what's wrong, and what Brandon did is wrong, and so I'm able to just differentiate that, but they're not, you know.
So this, because you have Brandon, who's a family member as well, right? And then you have
Yes.
Michael, who's a family member, and Ricky, who's a family member.
Yes.
If I understand you correctly, you're seeing that these murders has created a great rift within the family and made divisions.
Yes, it has. If I could mention our eldest grandson, it was our first grandson. He lives with us. We had to go home after the murder, and we had to because he lives with us, and my husband and I had to tell our 11-year-old grandson that his cousin had murdered his grandfather and his uncle. And this 11-year-old boy, he cried. He just like wailed. He just cried, and we had to sleep with him for several nights and hold him like a baby. It had such an impact on him because he knew Brandon. He loved his grandpa. He loved his uncle. It was just a tremendous loss for everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Lancaster. Nothing further.
Thank you.
What a mess, huh?
Yes, sir.
Family dynamics, right?
Yes.
Your family, Michael's family, Michael Martin's family, Melody's family.
Yes.
Just a tragedy all around. Agree with me?
I agree.
I get the impression that your contact with the Andersons, that's Melody's side of the family, there's a rift in there. Is that accurate?
There was a rift many years before that. Not with all of them, but it was. It's not this. It was from something else. Yes.
And we're talking about 16 brothers and sisters.
There were 16 brothers and sisters. Yes.
And so everybody was in Missouri. Everybody started in Missouri.
Well, they lived in Milwaukee, and then when I met them, they lived in Missouri. Yes, and some of them were already grown and out of the house by the time I met them.
And you and Melody shared a health class together. Is that right?
Yes, and I know that because I found a letter when we were moving 2 years ago, and it was a letter to Rick, and I didn't even remember the incident, and I remember saying, "Oh, I'm sitting here, and well, I should have been working, of course, doing my schoolwork." But I said, "Melody and I are in health class together."
So were you guys in the same grade?
No, she was, I believe, a grade before me,
Okay.
but we were in high school.
You folks got married in 1978. Is that correct?
September 24th, 1978.
And was that here or was that in Missouri?
That was in Missouri. Melody was in my wedding. She was one of the bridesmaids.
Okay. And is she with Michael Martin at this time?
No, she was not with. She did not meet Michael Martin until she moved out to California.
Who came out first, Melody or you and?
It was Rick, myself, Rick's brother Stanley, and his wife. We moved out. We actually came out for 2 weeks to see if we liked California. And coming from a small town of about 500 people, that's the only world we knew. So
Okay.
as soon as we came out here, we knew that this was it.
Melody came out shortly thereafter?
Yes, I believe she might have been in college at the time.
Okay. And then eventually you and Rick met Melody and Michael Martin, correct?
Well, I already knew Melody.
Thank you. You met them as a couple.
I met Melody, Michael Martin, and I believe 1980, around that, because I graduated from high school in 1980, and I have a picture of I'm wearing my cap and gown, and Michael Martin is standing next to me. So it was around that time.
And do you know when they got married, Michael and Melody?
I had a baby girl, my new husband, and she was born in 86. She was just a little baby, so it was maybe around 86, 87 is what I believe. I'm not exactly sure.
So when they got married, you and Rick were already apart, correct?
Correct.
Right.
But we were all invited to the wedding.
That was going to be my next question. Did you go to the wedding?
Yes, we did.
So at least back when they were married, you considered yourself a good friend of Michael Martin and Melody. Is that accurate?
Were we good friends with them?
When they got married, you individually.
I didn't see them as much as I saw Rick, because Rick and I co-parented Michael Anderson, so I saw him much more.
On September 15th, 2015, you were at the house. Your ex-husband, Rick, was there, correct?
I did not know he was there. I did not know. No, I did. I stayed in the whole time, so I didn't know. When I heard that all these people were outside,
news to you.
I didn't know it.
Okay. Prior to September of 2015, when was the last time you had seen Rick?
I saw Rick September 13 of that, and it was 4 days before the murder. We were at our youngest grandson Liam's birthday party.
In 2015, in those first 8.5 months of 2015, approximately how many times did you see Rick?
We saw him a lot because we had grandkids in common, so we hung out together. And Rick had recently gone through a divorce from second wife, and it was a 20-year marriage, and he was he was in a lot of pain. And we would invite him over to Thanksgiving and Christmas, and because we wanted him to feel, we knew he was hurting, and we wanted him to feel part of our family, and he was grateful for that, and we were also. So we spent a lot more time together and a lot of reflecting on the past.
Prior to your divorce in 1985, did you and Rick spend time with Melody and Mike?
Yes, we did.
Would there be occasions when, after your son Michael was born, that they would come over and watch Michael so you guys could go out?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember.
After your divorce in 1985, how often did you see Melody Martin?
How often did I see her? I didn't see her as often after that.
Would you see her once a year?
Probably we would, because we would always get, like Christmas, we would share Christmas with, we didn't have our Michael every other Christmas. We always made sure that Rick Anderson saw my son for Christmas, and then we saw him for Christmas. So we always raced from house to house to make sure everybody got a chance. So we would, definitely Christmas and, other holidays, we would see them.
In the early 90s, after Brandon and Sean were born, how often would you see those boys, Melody and Michael's boys?
I saw them a few times.
Okay. A few, like less than 5, basically?
It might have been a little bit more. I'm not really sure. I know they were also at my son's high school graduation, which was at our house, and I believe that was in 2001.
Okay. You told us that you were at the Winthrop address on September 15th, correct?
Correct.
How many times had you been at that house before September?
That was the first time I had been there. I'd have been invited many times, but That was the first time I'd been.
Okay. And you wanted to go so you could see Michael Martin, correct?
Correct.
When was the last time you had seen Michael Martin prior to September 15th?
I don't recall. I believe my son said that he was, Michael Martin was wheelchair bound for about 6 months. I think that's what he said. So I hadn't seen him during that time.
Okay.
But when I saw him, it was like no time had passed.
Sure. So safe to say it might have been a year plus in the last time you'd seen Michael Martin?
It could be, I don't know.
How about prior to September 15, 2015, when had you last seen Melody Martin?
I know that I definitely saw her when the Angels were in the Super Bowl, which I can't tell you when that was because...
Hold on, I'm not going to let you mix up my sports here. Angels are in the World Series. Okay.
Was it the World Series? Yeah.
Well, you watch a lot of ESPN, I can tell, right?
I'm a fair-weathered fan.
Okay. Okay. So that was back in 2002 when the Angels were in the World Series.
She worked for the California Angels. Right. And she got us tickets to the World Series. Okay. So I met her at her work. And I cannot give you a date.
No, I understand.
I don't know.
Since that World Series trip, had you had any contact with Melody?
I don't know if we were together for any. We would for Christmases. We would, if we were dropping off. Okay. I don't know if we saw him with birthday parties with the grandkids or not. I don't remember that. I mean, that was. I just don't remember.
So safe to say, when you got there on the 15th and you saw Melody, you had not seen her in a long time. Is that accurate?
I don't remember when I last saw her.
Okay. Well, you'd never been to the house before.
No, I had not been to the house, but I had spoken to her on the phone many times.
So how was it that it was decided that you were going to get pizza?
Michael Anderson came in and he said, Melody, you and my mom want to go get pizza. So
at this time, was Melody in the house with you?
She must have walked in around the same time as Michael Anderson. Okay. Because I was primarily in the house by myself with Michael Martin. I did see Brandon Martin.
Okay. So it's your recollection that Michael Anderson, your son, asked both you and Melody to go get pizza?
Correct.
Who drove?
Melody drove.
And did you actually go to the pizza place and pick up the pizza?
Yes, we did.
And this whole trip took about how long?
I didn't know it was something I was going to have to remember, so I'm guessing 10 minutes. It didn't take long. We got pizza and breadsticks is what I can remember.
When you left, Brandon was at the house, correct?
Brandon was still at the house.
And when you got home, Brandon was gone, correct?
The only reason I knew Brandon was gone was Michael Anderson had stopped and said, yes, he's been taken in on 5150.
And this?
But we sat in the car for maybe 10 minutes waiting for my son to come back and because he said, just wait here to us.
The car pulls up and Michael comes out and says, stay here in the car.
So that's what we did.
Okay. And then Michael then informs you to, okay, Brandon's gone, the police took him away, and you told us Melody was angry, correct? Melody
was very angry. She was concerned that his career would be ruined.
All right. And is it your testimony that Melody said to you, I just wanted Brandon to get beaten up?
Yes. She felt that this is what would maybe set him straight to stop doing this. Because it wasn't the first time that he had her in a chokehold with scissors to her neck and punched his father in the face when he was in a wheelchair.
You said that earlier. We all know that happened.
All right.
So that's fine.
I wasn't in here, so I don't know.
I said you said that.
Okay.
In any event, I don't want to. Where was this conversation? While you were sitting in the car?
That happened while we were sitting in the car waiting.
Okay. So this is, your son Michael says, you guys just stay here and you're sitting in the car And that's when Melody says to you, I just wanted him beaten up.
Correct.
Right.
Because she felt that she said Sean was angry about what he had done to his mother,
Right.
and that she agreed, and she felt that it would help if they had larger numbers to do this.
And then you told us a couple days later, right around noon, you got a voicemail from Melody, correct?
Yes.
And you told us it was a shaky voice, correct?
Her voice sounded shaky, yes.
Upset? Is that
Yes,
right?
she was upset.
Okay. And the voicemail, in essence, was, can you help me find a place to send Brandon to because they're going to release him?
Correct.
Okay. Did you call her back?
I got the voicemail after the fact, so I didn't even get to answer the call at that time.
Okay.
It was the voicemail that I answered after the fact, and I still have a copy of the voicemail.
So when do you think you eventually listened to the voicemail?
I don't recall. It was probably that day.
That day?
It was in my, I don't know when I made my my statement, and it was typed in my statement, so it was during that time.
So, but did you ever call Melody back?
I called Melody back on the 17th of September.
Okay.
After we got a call from, my husband received a call from my son Michael, and it was very difficult to understand what he said, but the best of our knowledge, it was 2 people are dead at the house, and there's 1 person alive. So we raced in the car. We're headed to Corona. I got on the phone and I called Melody, and she said, "Oh, hi, Robin." And I said, "Where are you?" And she said, "I'm at work." And I said, "You need to get home right now." I said, "There are 2 people dead at your house, and there's 1 is still alive." And she got off the phone immediately, and then I called her back, and I said, "Do you need us to pick you up?" Because I realized it's like, if somebody called me and told me that, I'd probably be like, I couldn't even imagine I could even drive.
Okay. Thank you, that's all.
No questions, sir.
Witness excused.
Yes, sir.
You're excused. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next witness.
Thank you. Michael Anderson. Raise your right hand, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Michael Anderson, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, last name A-N-D-E-R-S-E-N.
Mr. Anderson, I know you testified earlier in the trial. Just remember to use that microphone when you're answering questions. Make sure you give us a verbal or audible answer to the questions, and please don't respond until the lawyers have finished asking questions. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Beaton.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome back. Mr. Anderson, I want to talk a little bit about your father, Rick. Will you tell us what type of father he was?
Very, very loving father. Wanted what was best for his children. Wanted the children to make those decisions and taught us how to make those best decisions.
So your mother's Robin, the lady that just left, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And And your father is obviously Rick. And you said that you have some siblings. Is that also correct?
Yes, sir.
And those siblings, who are they and what are their ages?
On that are on my dad's side,
Yes.
Brooke Anderson, and I'm not sure her exact age right now,
Okay.
and Chad Anderson, my brother.
Okay. And just approximately, are they in their teens, 20s?
No, I believe Chad is 27, and I think Brooke is 30
Okay.
or 29.
And are you close to them at all?
It's been a rough 5 years.
I understand that. And so my next question was actually going to be, have you seen the impact of your dad's murder that's had on your siblings?
Yes.
All right. And would you explain that?
My brother, I think, was around 22 at the time that Dad passed away, and my sister was just a couple years older. Both of them lived at home with him. Our dad just went through a very rough divorce, and he wanted them to stay at home. He wanted them to have a home to heal themselves. And he worked with Chad multiple days a week. My dad owned a company, and my brother worked for him. And then when they got home, they would do things together. He still paid for their food, their groceries, their vehicles, their health insurance. Everything was taken care of by my dad.
Sounds like they were quite dependent on him.
100%.
Okay. And of course, due to his murder, it must have just been devastating to them.
Yes, sir.
And how did it impact them after the fact? You said that they were very dependent on him, and now that he's gone, did it just, you said it devastated them. Explain that.
My sister, I know she used to love to travel the world, and after when our dad was attacked, she was in China, and when she came home, she swore, "I'm never going to leave again," and that was one of her favorite things to do was to go travel. And my brother was lost at work. I was trying to run my company and now my dad's company, and I would see him pulled over on the side of the road in his truck for hours every day of the week. It was very hard seeing, and myself as well.
Did you say your sister was in China?
She was in Asia. She was maybe the Philippines.
Okay. So she was in Asia, and was she there with any family members?
No, I think she was there maybe with some of her girlfriends.
Okay. So she didn't really have any family to lean upon during this tough time?
No.
And what about you? Let's talk about the good stuff first. 264. See that photo?
Yes, sir.
And who's that in the photo?
That's my father, Rick Anderson.
And do you know anything about this photo, where it was taken?
It looks like it's either in Wisconsin at the farm he used to own, or it might be in Yosemite.
Okay. And what type of person was your dad as it related to you bringing you up in this world?
Always be honest in what you do. Always look out for others, take care of other people first. That was him, and you could live a happy life doing that.
Showing you people's 268. Looks like that's a photo of him basically saying cheers to the photographer.
Yes, sir.
Were you close to your dad up until the time of September of 2015?
Yes, sir.
How often would you talk to him?
It seems like multiple times a day. There might be, a day that we don't talk, but for the most part, we saw each other every day at work, talked to each other on the phone, did family events together.
Back in the guilt phase when you testified, I think you said even on the 17th you talked to him several times.
Yes, sir.
And that wasn't unusual. There might be some days you might not talk to him, but certainly there would be days you talked to him several times.
Yes, sir.
And how about your uncle, Michael Martin? What was he like growing up?
Uncle Michael was very loving, very supportive of his family. Hardworking. He would work the mornings delivering newspapers for years, and always there at home to be with the family. Very, very loving person.
And what was he to you? What kind of role model was he to you?
He wasn't my blood, but he was definitely one of my favorite uncles out of a lot of uncles and aunts. He was a great guy.
16 of them, right?
Yes, sir.
And how often would you talk to him?
I don't have any exact times right now, but we would talk on the phone. I would stop by if I was working in the area at family events. Every time I was going through Corona, I would try to see him and see one of my other uncles that lived down the street.
Showing you 265. That photo?
Yes, sir.
And your uncle Rick, your father Rick and your uncle Michael, how would you describe their relationship with each other? One's a redneck from Missouri, the other one's from San Bernardino, and they look like they're brothers to me. And that's how they always portrayed the relationship? Since I can remember as a child. Showing you another photograph, 266. Back in their younger days, right? Yes, sir. And so they were pretty close. Yes, sir. Your father's funeral and your uncle's funeral, what type of, were they the same funeral? Were they a co-funeral or dual funeral? Yes, we did a co-funeral at Salvation Army's church. Okay. And tell us as much as you can remember. I'm sure a lot of it's a blur, but we describe the services as best as you can. Lots of love. It was an endless stream of people coming into the church. I believe it was standing room only. And my dad was an air conditioning contractor, and he had probably 10 competitors there, fellow air conditioning companies that were paying their respects. On both sides, they were both loved. And were you a pallbearer? Yes, sir. And for who? For my uncle. And why for your uncle rather than for your father?
It might have been that there wasn't enough strong enough family members to help carry my uncle. I don't know. My dad always knew that I was there. I wanted to make sure my uncle knew too.
You knew that your dad had your love and support, and you wanted to make sure that Michael had somebody that loved and supported him as well?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Nothing further.
No question, thank you.
Please excuse.
Yes, yes.
Your excuse, thanks.
Sir.
That's it for today, Your Honor.
All right, then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and break for the day. We remind all of you not to discuss the facts of this case amongst yourselves. Anyone under the age of the trial in a former